On the Shabbat amendment under the 5 minutes.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. I think the reason we don't often hear about mass shootings that were stopped by a citizen with a gun is that they didn't become mass shootings precisely because they were stopped by a citizen with a gun. As I said earlier, a mass shooting was stopped by a woman with a gun in Charleston, West Virginia, the very day after the massacre at Uvalde. She couldn't have done that in a so-called gun-free school zone. Is there any other possible way to stop a bad guy with a gun, but with a good guy with a gun? There is no other way. The only question is how long it takes. It's often been said that police can be there in minutes when seconds count. And what we found in Uvalde and before in Parkland, even when the police respond, they don't always act once they get there. Those who are directly threatened by a gunman are those who are in the best position to stop such an attack because they're there on the spot and their lives depend on it. And yet you won't let them. That's stunning to me. Nor do you seem to be serious about enforcing our laws when they're violated. I mean, that's what we've observed time and again from your woke district attorneys. And if you don't take our laws seriously, what makes you think criminals will? And again, I ask, why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for violating the law that forbids drug addicts from purchasing firearms, a felony? Remember, his gun, which he illegally obtained by lying on his application, yet another felony, ended up being retrieved from an open trash can 500 feet from the school. So again, I pose the question, what makes you think gun laws will keep guns out of the hands of criminals any better than drug laws keep drugs out of the hands of addicts? MS-13 isn't going to obey your laws. Madmen aren't going to obey your laws. Terrorists won't obey them either, nor will criminals. All your measures do is make it lawfully impossible for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. So why won't you protect our children in their schools with the same seriousness as we protect our money at the bank? Nobody questions the common sense of having an armed guard at a bank. But leftists somehow cannot see the common sense of having an armed guard at a school. They seem more serious about protecting our money than protecting our children. That's utterly inexplicable to me. And of course, this discussion raises the question of how many bank robberies never happen because robbers know there's an armed guard to return fire, and how many attacks on schools can be discouraged when the gunmen know they're likely to be opposed with lethal force at the front door. You know, the left lives in this fantasy world where all they have to do is pass a law against a criminal from obtaining a gun to have it obeyed. Yet, as King Canute demonstrated, there are limits to the efficacy of our laws. The madmen in Uvalde didn't obey them, but everyone else around that gunman did, and that made them defenseless. And so he operated with impunity in an environment where the gunman was king. And he knew that was a safe environment for him to do violence, as his own diary noted, because he knew no one would be there to return fire. When are my friends going to take the world as it is and not as they wish it to be? The father of modern policing, Sir Robert Peel, once observed that the police are simply the extension of the community, that in fact, the community is the police and the police are the community. Every citizen has a right and a duty to uphold the law and protect themselves. The police are there to help. The only difference, he said, was that the police officer is a professional hired to attend to his duty full-time, not to replace the private citizen, but to support him. Mr. Shabbat's amendment makes it more likely an attack can be stopped before it starts and makes it less likely that a gunman will target our schools knowing they can be stopped before they start. And I say again, until you're ready to protect our children with force, you're not serious about protecting our children at all. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.